Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4, I know numbers, of Stat Check. This is Self-Insert Rankfiction, our number one show where we go into AO3 and we read you out whatever comes up in the Stat Check tag. Apologies for being slightly late for anybody who was watching the live. Nathan couldn't figure out how the call button worked on Discord and was trying to use that as opposed to anything resembling the software we're on, which I hear is a little better.
My doctorate is in biology, not in any kind of technology whatsoever. So
yeah, but I would have assumed that button pressing was vaguely connected to biology.
If you've been to any school with biology professors and have had them try to do a presentation, in fact, button pressing is not a skill that a lot of professors have.
No, we've noticed, based on the fact that we are 2 whole minutes late, and our viewership has dropped by 3,000% as a result. I don't know if that's true or not. Anyway, hi, I'm Innes. I am joined by Nathan and Jeremy today. Jeremy is usually our man of the chair who sits behind the scenes in the middle of all of us being like, you guys were great this week, and now he's on the episode because Anthony is busy attempting to get a passport.
Attempting in like a whole nother city across the state from where he lives.
Yeah, I believe he is making the 5-hour trek to Buffalo.
Yes.
Which is not in the good direction. And then he has a 5-hour drive back tomorrow. So we wish Anthony all the best. Instead, we are joined by one of the... What's the name for like I know it's a triumvirate for 3. What's 5?
We're just the stats Illuminati side.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm joined by the other 2 members by 2 of the 3 members of the Stats Illuminati, which is a trifecta, which I suppose does work. Yeah, how are you doing?
I guess it'd be a pentafecta.
I suppose you should introduce yourself to the network properly because you've not actually been on this show.
That's a good point. I was on the WTC draft, which Patreon members have seen at this point. But yeah, I am Jeremy, also known as Curie, largely online. Witness will continue to refer to me as Curie. Nathan will probably call me Jeremy. You all can call me whatever you'd like. I am the...
Daddy.
No, that's him. Maybe after we meet in singles.
You can call him Uncle Jeremy. That's fine.
Somehow so much worse.
Terrible. I am the man behind the curtain for much of the stats that we talk about here on this show. I collect the data every single week. I feed it into Cliff's ears. He comes up with the brilliant data visualizations. Nathan talks about it. And I come up with new and interesting ways of presenting things. And
Innes and Anthony grow their ego off of it. It's really a really remarkable ecosystem for us.
Uncle Jezza.
No, that says Unky Jezza, actually.
Unky Jezza. Sorry, Jeremy, you're now Unky Jezza.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, I'm down with this. I think this is a good set of nicknames. So this week on the show, we are going to be talking about a whole lot of. I'm assuming those guys are going to talk about a bunch of stats, and I'm going to sit here and nod. That's kind of the goal for this week. We'll be talking about Jeremy's team for WTC a little bit, so we'll keep going through some prep for that. We'll plug a little bit of stuff. There's some new stuff coming out on Friday for the bonus content for everybody that we'll be releasing, so we'll talk about that towards the end of the show. We're going to go for a nice chill 90 minutes today because we don't have the violence, corrupting, influencing. I'm here. It's 11 o'clock at night. I'm down for being a little bit chill this week. So we're going to have a nice, quiet, calm podcast with minimal levels of chaos. He said, lying through his teeth, because there's never minimal chaos.
No.
Let's do the fun bit then. How has the week been in stats, given that you both love talking about stats? Or actually, no, how's your week's been? What have you done for it? I should skip a section.
Oh, shit. I was like, dang, don't even want to hear about our weekends in it.
No, I don't care. If I
want to hear about your weekend. I actually just practiced all weekend with the German WTC list. The only change that I made to it was I added some Tyranid warriors to it. I mean, I don't know. I just didn't like 10 Termagants, although I might just put 10 Termagants back in. We'll see. But it has one.
Where did you pull the 25 points from, or the 20 points from?
Magic. No, I switched to one Parasite and a couple other things around. That was pretty much what I did.
enough.
But I really enjoy that list. It's really funny to play. I played it into Necrons, and then I played it into a melee Mortal Wounds Pressure Orcs list, and it won both of those games, although not really by WTC standards. I think it technically tied both of those games in differential scoring, which fine
Points
for
are
me,
points.
I
I
guess.
think that's what the list is there for. So
Yeah. Like it's also just hilarious to pilot because Zoanthropes put out so much mortal wound damage that it is kind of funny. Like every turn, a kill rig was even close to the triplet of triplets of Zoanthropes. They died instantaneously just to mortal wound damage, as did Squig Hog Boys or just any kind of boy whatsoever. So it was fun. I'm going to continue playing it. I might bring it to singles after a little bit, after some more testing and a few more tweaks.
I've definitely always said the problem with running more than one squad of Zoanthropes is you run out of things to charge. The trick with that is to just not want to charge, I guess.
Yeah.
Just replace your desire to charge with your desire to run away.
Okay, Seth is right. There was only one kill rig killed entirely by Thropes. The Harpies did everything else from
Those poor kill rigs.
Yeah, the small notable inclusion of Harpies.
Although I will say that Spore Mines are hilarious and continue to be hilarious when you're spawning like 12 a turn.
6 plus 3d3, yeah.
And just putting them all over the map. And then, yes, one Harpy continued to get chased by Zagstruck until he died, and then Zagstruck got melted by the remaining Harpy, I believe.
Oh, so Zagstruck did succeed in his hunty harping mission then.
He did. He hunted the Harpy for 3 turns, surviving three occasions of me paying CP for Overwatch and not hitting at all. Because I had no other idea what to do with all this CP I had. Because there's nothing that needs CP.
Do you know what the trick? What you do? You just bounce a squad of gargoyles up into the air every turn. So
I
they can
thought
come
about
down and
doing
threaten
that,
objectives. That's all you do.
but
It's so
I
funny.
used the gargoyles as the second screen behind a screen of like 12 to 15 spore mines in front of the zoanthropes. And so boys just hit spore mines and then they hit gargoyles and then they died.
The other thing you can do is you can keep cycling your you can cycle your back squad of zoanthropes forward as well.
Yes, the fun part is the fire and fading zoanthropes who pop back out 3 inches and pop out to shoot and then pop back during your opponent's turn so they can't be shot over and over and over again. It's amazing. I love it. Everybody else is like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh no, they failed their charge, so they get to move 3 inches in any direction I choose. They're like, they get to do what? Yeah, they get to fly 3 inches back into the building. I don't know what you want.
It's a really cool list. I am very impressed with it. I have got to commend Germany on putting together one of the most incredible innovations of 40K I've ever seen.
It is the greatest thing. And I'm actually just getting 2 second edition metal zoanthropes to act as the other 2 neurothropes for the list, and I'm just going to keep doing it. It's just hilarious. I don't know.
Good. This is got to be my favorite. One of my favorite things about WC is the post-event impact that ripples out from a bunch of lists where people will just go, that worked really well in singles. I wonder if I can just do that. And then it turns out you can. And I reckon, yeah, we'll probably see a few other things like that, like the English Blood Angels list with the 3 squads of 5 Death Company and Lamarties that just becomes really, really good at doing that secondary with a bunch of Inferno pistols.
That list is mean.
The list is real mean and very good.
Yeah, I'm not like 100% convinced the psychic list will be like super great. It'll probably win like a GT or something like that. Maybe not in my hands, but I don't
quite
think
hard to win big is the problem.
Yeah,
so you kind of need a true and defeated tournament, and over those games, it can be hard to be consistent enough. So I don't know. I think it has a ceiling, but there's definitely something in there that you could maybe take the shell and make it a little better.
And its Necron matchup isn't amazing because it doesn't have like a lot of front loaded pressure. Like you can't really go out and do stuff. You kind of inch forward, annihilating everything that presents itself.
So you are pushing into the Necrons.
Yeah, the list is limited to activities and activity related secondaries.
There was one Necron model left at the end of my Necron practice game, but I won only because I managed to kill the Silent King in the last turn with a harpy charging it and then killing him with mortal wounds on the charge.
That's how harpies kill everything. Harpies don't have combat attacks.
It was,
harpies can attack with combat line.
Close. If I needed to roll 2 mortal wounds on the Silent King so basically needed an average roll on the Horned King stratagem, but
I mean the harpy probably doesn't die to Silent King in combat.
Not one on
since he's heavily bracketed.
Yeah, not one on bottom bracket when the harpy's at full bracket, and then the harpy.
No,
can
you definitely
pop.
you die to that. Yeah, that's fair.
He can still pop voracious and then get rerolled.
Yeah, but you'd be fighting last, mate.
It's true, but on bottom bracket, the Silent King's probably not killing the harpy.
No, the Silent King only loses a lot of attacks. Yeah, he's got 2
attacks.
He
loses 2 attacks on bottom bracket.
Yeah, he has like 2 or 3 attacks. He's not killing the harpy because the harpy's at full wounds. So.
Also, hilarious fact with the Silent King: if you use the top bracket stratagem, he doesn't get his dudes back. He just gets his attacks back. It's so funny. Every time somebody uses that, and I'm like, that only affects characteristics, right? And dudes existing isn't a characteristic, buddy.
Yep.
Your mates are still dead.
Each of those little stratagems is worded very slightly differently as well, and so a couple of them would, because of the wording on them, let the Silent King fight with all of his stuff. But the Silent King's stratagem does not let him do it. So he doesn't get to fight that
we have to micro-read these differences. It's really cool.
Tell me about it.
We can't have universal special rules? Oh, no. But I am taking way too much time talking about my practice games with a funny list.
I feel like you haven't realized that this is the point yet, Nathan.
Oh, damn it. Hopefully people are entertained. Somebody's got to tell the person who developed that list that I love it.
I will do my best. I believe it's Matthias Jemica.
Excellent.
And we're playing round 1.
You love it.
You tell him that I just love this fucking list because it's great.
I will do. Curie, what about yourself? You guys have been doing WTC prep, I assume?
Yeah. On my end, so those that don't know, I am the coach for the Canadian team. So I've been doing a lot of back-end prep, just making sure that pairing matrices are ready, background data is ready, lists are all ready for people to review. I went and got a spiral-bound printout of every single list so that we actually can refer to them when we're doing pairings the night before or an hour before.
Oh yeah, save the planet.
Yeah.
I printed out all the boards. I can't say anything. It's like a 200-page document with all the boards and tables. Like,
yep.
So sorry. I'm so sorry, guy. I'm so sorry.
I do this once a year. It should be fine. Most of the time, I don't print a single list. I don't print my lists at events because that's a requirement from before COVID. But yeah, just doing a lot of background prep, getting everything ready for that. Nothing too much on my end. I mean, pairings for the singles went live today for War Masters. Got to take a quick look at a very interesting veteran cohort list with 2 bombers.
Well, that's fun. Run us through what you're playing.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I am running the same janky Ravenwing that I've been running for a few months now, which is a double outrider with as many speeders and bikes that I can cram into a list as possible. Basically, as much plasma, melta, and bullets as you can throw at your enemy and hope that that's enough to table them before they get to me.
Well, how many conscripts did it kill again?
So I played into 300 Cadian conscripts on round 3 of Salt City, and we figured 106 round 1, not counting a mortar team and a few other small things, but the conscripts themselves, it was 106 or so of those dead.
So there's a lot of
that's not even high score, buddy.
Firepower.
No, but it was enough that by turn 3, we were just looking at the table and said, look, I've lost a speeder to Hammer of the Emperor. You have nothing.
You have that one mortar guy who's hiding behind that building over there.
Oh, no. Samael went on a hunting expedition to take care of the mortars because they were being irritating.
Good.
Definitely not over.
That was my weekend.
Definitely.
Just getting ready for WTC, panicking a little bit, letting the anxiety build to a boiling point.
It's great being in a position to prepare for the WTC because you have so much you could do and so much that you can't do. That because you keep saying you're like, I'll do these things, and then nobody listens to you, so it doesn't matter that you've done the thing. But it's okay because you'll get to go and fetch a lot of water as well.
It's true.
If anyone from my team is listening, please finish your pairing matrices because I know they're not done yet.
I can't say anything. I've not finished. We split all the teams into green teams, which is teams we had to have done by like last week, blue teams which we had to have done by this week, and red teams which we have to have done by next week. Like like
I'm
before
not
I
even
fly
gonna
out.
ask where Canada stands.
You don't have to. It's on your flag.
God damn it!
It's either a white flag or a red one. Both of them are bad.
Both of them are equally viable for use here.
What have you
so-
been up
Funny
to
'cause
this
I-
weekend, Ennis?
So I was meant to
I
have done
drafted
my
Canada, so I'm in trouble for both of those reasons.
I was meant to have done my blue matrices by Sunday, but I ended up doing the recording for WTC for the WTC newcomers, which you can find on the YouTube channel, on Sunday. So that killed that day, and then I just didn't do it yesterday for reasons. So I'm like 2 days behind on my matrix, so I'm not going to slag anybody off right now for not doing matrix work. It's so boring when you don't have a dual screen as well. If you don't have dual screens, doing matrices is nightmarish. So I kind of need to do it on my lunch break at work, and that takes a while. For me, I had a practice weekend again, which has been my last 3 weeks. So I should kind of expect it at this point. But we went out to our local store to be like, "Yo, let's go for a practice weekend." I'll meet Chris at 10:30 in the town over, so I'll get the bus through. We'll go for breakfast. He'll take me up. We'll get up there for 11 o'clock. Shut. Fuck. When does it open? I'm away this weekend, and the other guy who could open the store is sick, so we're not.
Whoops.
So we ended up cramming back into my garage for the weekend, which is luckily I have 2 tables, but somebody who was going to be the first practice ended up missing it, so we ended up having 3 people instead of 4 for the first one, and then we got 4 people for the second one at least. So we got some good practice in. I don't get to play my list much anymore, has been the general principle of practice days, which is definitely something that happens when you're playing a list that nobody wants to play against. Is they're just like, I understand that you're at the practice day. However, could you play that Drakari list for me, or could you play could you play the Necrons list for me? And I'm like, yes, I'd like to play my list twice
except for your list.
Yeah, that's pretty much been the general gist. So I think I've played 12, 13 practice games over the past 2 weeks. I've played 1 game with my list. It's just like, okay, fair enough. Not that I'm not comfortable with my list. I know what I'm doing with it at this point, but it's still kind of like I would like to prep myself. But I also understand that it's not the most useful thing for my team for me to be practicing my list into them, because I'll just keep breaking their spirit over and over again.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not doing that with the other list I'm practicing on. It's just, a little less soul breaking. I did win my first game with Drakari ever.
Oh my god!
Because they were like, he was like, "Can you practice Curie into me?" And I was like, "Sure." And then my double Void Ravens killed Dante turn 1, and I was like, "Yep,
Oh, no.
all right." It's like double Void Ravens. I killed Dante in 4 Death Company and 1 Sanguinary Guard, and then Drazar killed the other 20.
Sounds accurate.
Zara's want to do.
It was roughly what it felt like. Yeah. Fucking Sanguinar Hurricane Divine in onto Drazar, and I'm like, yeah, okay, so he's dead. Oh, the explosion killed 1 though, from the Ravager who was in combo with him. That's all the damage Drazar took. It's a weird army. The German Drakari list is 2 Void Ravens and 6 Dark Technomancer Kronos and 2 Ravagers. It's a really, really, really weird list. It has no combat except 2 characters. It's quite funny.
I feel like the
banking
banking
on those
are sisters.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what it was really bad into was a Sanguinary Guard and cover.
Yeah, I mean the Void Raven bombs, because they do the splash kind of area effect, are very good probably into sisters, because then somebody's playing MSU sisters all clustered around Morbin Ball or something like that. You just pop them.
The problem is that after they've done that, do you know what guns a Void Raven bomber has?
Nothing.
2 Dark Lances or 2
it's two Void Sides,
guns.
So 9 4 D3 plus 3, and D3 shots at 6/2/2.
Yeah.
Or D6 at 7/1/1. That's it. It's 200 points. I compared it to a Harpy, and I just kind of went, the Harpy's probably a little broken, isn't it?
Just a little.
Are you saying that an AdMech gunship smashed together with an AdMech bomber is a good
and
unit?
A Helldrake. There's a Helldrake.
And a Helldrake is good. Maybe. Madness. Madness.
Tim says Void Ravens either pop off and immediately end the game or do nothing. And sometimes they do both at the same time. It's quite remarkable.
When they do nothing, they do end the game. When they do something, they also end the game.
But it doesn't even, like, even if you kill a bunch of stuff with them turn 1, you're probably not killing 400 points worth of stuff. And you're down 400 points of deadweight Void Ravens now.
Yeah.
You're fair.
Like,
You're fair.
they're not doing anything. They only pivot once. Like,
they're not
they
coming
can't
back.
get anywhere. That's the problem.
They're going off the table. They're
If
not
your
really
opponent
going
is careful,
anywhere
it's just like, okay, so if you want to bomb this stuff, you have to go off the table. You just, they never do anything ever again.
Yeah, we had...
involved in combat or anything. It's so sad, man. It's so sad.
What are you talking about? They get power from pain. They have a 6-up invuln.
Yeah,
They do.
Mm-hmm.
I think they natively have a 5-up invulnerable save anyways.
I think it's against shooting only.
It might be.
It is, yeah. It's Flicker Fields. Yeah, if you've got a ham sandwich and a Void Raven Bomber with a 6-up invulnerable save, you've got a ham sandwich.
They are at least very pretty. Tim Penny and Chad is right. They are very
Eldar models. That is the extent of my respect that they'll get. But anyway, I have 100%. I maintain my 100% win rate with Eldar in any kind of play because that army is broken, and anybody who can't win with Eldar is brain dead.
Fair.
I've won one.
Well, we can talk about that.
That's it. That's all I needed.
Why don't we pop off into the stats section and we can chat about some stuff?
That sounds lovely.
I've been trying real hard to stall the stats section after I preempted it earlier.
Well, I mean,
right, guys,
I guess we could talk about some
Eldar
Eldar performance. We're not going to talk about it that much in this. Come on.
You are.
I mean,
we'll keep it tame.
Oh, thank goodness.
Do you want to talk about the win rate stuff and then I'll talk about the overrep stuff?
Sure. Yeah, I'll talk about the win rate stuff. Give me 2 seconds because I actually did not pull this up because I thought you had it open.
I do have it open. I have both things open. I can do both.
Nah, I'll do the weekly win rate stuff on the factions that matter.
Oh, the only factions that produced top 4s or top 10 placements. Just those ones.
Pretty much actually, with one exception. But let's focus on the ones that actually matter because some of these things are fake. There we go. All right. So, kind of betraying their death or complete unplayability, Craftworld Eldar, top of the board for the week with a 58.7% win rate across almost 100 games. 20 players. They actually are doing quite well. Following that, Tyranids, completely not dead. 56.9% across more than 100 games. Harlequins, 56.3%, totally dead still. And then rounding out the top 5, we have Gene Stealer Cult at 55.8%, but there are only 9 players. They're kind of fake still.
Okay. Not real. Yeah.
And then with 24 players, we've got Sisters who are still in a very healthy 55.6% for the week.
Yep.
Very, very healthy. That's exactly what you want to hear.
The big thing that I'm taking away from the win rate data is that the meta is starting to kind of push towards center based on like the bulk of the data from this week and also from Nephilim as a whole. We're losing win rate across like all of the top performing factions and gaining win rate in a bunch of places. So we're starting to kind of merge towards 55 to 45%.
Well, yeah, and one of the interesting things, I was talking about this in our chat earlier, is that this is one of the few weeks since we started tracking data back in February where we don't have a faction sitting above 60%.
Yep. And I think in the accumulated data,
there's a couple factions that are real close to touching it.
Sure, they're close to touching it, but we got so used to, for the majority of Nakmund, having 2 or 3 factions sitting above or well above 60%. And you'll remember Harlequins at their peak flirting with 80%. The fact that they're below 60 is actually quite nice.
Not for me.
I think we're starting to drop even some of those, like across all of Nephilim. Some of those factions are dropping below 60% entirely. We're starting to lose factions just above 60. Except for Tyranids who are like just wavering above it, essentially, at this point. It's 60.8%.
And of course,
totality.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that Astra Militarum with 10 players is at a 29.4% win rate.
Oh, yeah.
Where they belong.
The 2 bottom performing factions for the week are factions without books, though, for 9th edition yet.
Yeah,
and that's
Chaos
Astra
Demons.
Militarum and Chaos Demons.
But Chaos Demons only had 6 players.
True.
We only deserved 6 players.
Sorry, Paul.
It's this Slaanesh number. You just made Paul very happy.
That's one player per god and 2 people who still think Be'lakor is relevant.
To be fair, most of the Chaos Demon lists do just have Be'lakor in them and nothing else.
Yeah,
It's true.
that man is a one data sheet keeping that win rate in the 30s.
That one data sheet is definitely holding that whole book up. It's like Hiveguard in 8th edition, just holding the whole codex above its head, going, look, guys, I can do this for only so long.
Surprisingly, they did it for most of an edition.
It's true.
Hiveguard did it way longer than an edition, buddy.
It does sound like we're kind of trending towards balance, maybe, kind of, sort of.
It certainly seems that way, because on the low end of 9th edition books, so books that have factions where you actually have modern rules, is T-Suns with 19 players and a 44% win rate. So like that's actually not necessarily unhealthy for the lower bound of modern rules to be sitting just below that 45% threshold that we often talk about.
Yep. And they still got top 10s and top 4s out of the week. So it's not like they're doing badly. Their win rate's just marginally outside the balance window.
Correct. And the other one that I want to quickly touch on, because we mentioned it last week, Necrons, where they were soaring into the 60s, have crashed back down to 53% this week.
Oh my god, just
So
shockingly bad now. Wow, they're only winning
unplayable.
most of their game.
They're dead again.
Yep, but it seems like people have figured out how to play into Necrons, which largely is don't let them score 100 points in the first 3 turns.
Yes. I mean, you definitely do get some sticker shock in that first battle round when your opponent's like, so I scored 35 points, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, but that's including paint, buddy. It's fine.
It's true. It is fine, but it is definitely a moment where you're like, man, that's like 30 of your points in your first turn, and we haven't done anything yet.
Yep. Yeah, my local game store owner, he played his first game into new Necrons, and he was just like, yeah, at the end of round 2, I was down by 35 points, and I'm playing Tyranids, and I don't know what to do. The answer is table him.
Yeah, the answer is can't score 35 more.
I mean, it is interesting because if you look at the average victory points scored for like this last week, Necrons are second to Harlequins. Although I'm kind of intrigued. Harlequins are scoring almost 78 victory points, which is something.
I had never played against Take Your Places before. It's a surprisingly decent secondary.
Yeah, Take Your Places actually isn't. Now, on some missions, you're trolling if you take it because your opponent can be like, I'm going to place an objective marker over there that you need to hold.
Yeah, because you place the one in your opponent's deployment zone, right? So,
yeah, and they place the one in your deployment zone.
And you place one in the middle. So, like, you can definitely be like, you're going to come to me now, buddy. Please. So, like, picking it against Tyranids didn't feel great. When I was like, okay, so you have to stand on this right here. I'll put 18 warriors on that, buddy.
Yeah.
Come on, then. That felt good. He didn't score a lot of points on that. But the Void Reavers just couldn't play that. So it makes sense that it was not something I had seen before. But even
9 boats can play it.
Yeah, but I mean, it was just kind of like, why would you take it over Dead or Dead Performance before? But now that you're uncapped, what a great decision that's turning out to be. Yeah,
even Weave the Veil was surprisingly good. My opponent took that against me, and I was just like, oh, I have like 12 units of my army that are always going to be within 18 inches of this stupid Shadowseer, and I can't reach the Shadowseer because I just can't project force that far. You're going to basically max this secondary.
Yep. They have some good secondaries, which are kind of helping the faction out because all of the WTC builds are 9-star Weavers filled with troops with some fusion pistols and
some of them are 6.
Yeah, but most of them are 8 or 9. It's a question of whether they took the Death Jester or not.
Yeah, it's like, are you running 6 in Voids or are you running 8 or 9? Those are the 2 choices. It's just that. It's
which really just puts
cool
it
faction.
right back to where it was in 8th edition, running 3 data sheets.
Yeah, it's
from
just
the book.
It's a Soaring Spite build with less fusion pistols.
I mean, it's Soaring Spite, but now light because they have the exact same bonus too. Soaring Spite was advance and shoot, and now light is advance and shoot. Although light is technically better because in Soaring Spite it was advance and your weapons turn into assault weapons, and whereas light is your weapons have no penalty for advancing and shooting.
It does have one small downside is that if you disembark from a transport, you can't catch remaining stationary. So if you disembark in advance, you can't fire the fusion pistols.
True.
Oh, terrible shame.
Tim does have the right point, though. Just fucking kill them.
It is.
That's how you beat Necrons.
Oh, Necrons. I assumed he was talking about literally any game right now. That's how you play Nephilim, yeah. You either have faction secondaries that you don't have to do anything, or you have to go and fucking kill them.
Yep.
There is no column C. Like there isn't a third game plan. Guys, I'm sorry to tell you. You're either playing Tyranids and your secondaries are Spore Cysts and Cranial Feasting, where you have to work your ass off for a 7, or your secondaries are Code of Combat and Treasures of the Aeons, where you exist and score 40.
Yep.
Oh, come
You're
on.
not wrong.
Code, you actually have to kill some things for it. You're taking Machineries, Purge, and...
Machineries, Purge, and Treasures of the Aeons.
Treasures. Because
Which
Purge...
I still don't understand why they moved Treasures of the Aeons to no mercy, no respite. I really, really don't get it. It was an interesting decision to move Stranglehold to the kill things category.
Yeah.
Some things only GW knows why.
Knights has been column C, says Tim. Column C exist and try and kill some stuff. It's kind of like you're hedging between column. You're just column A and B with benefits. Like, that's not real.
Imperial Knights, perfectly balanced. 51 wins, 51 losses, and 4 draws.
Exactly. All right. I guess we can talk about some overrep data real quick.
Yep.
So I'm going to talk. So Marines are at the top of this list just because of the way I sorted it. So I make Marines back in what they're supposed to be, which is 15 gnomes in a trench coat. So Marines had 15 top 10s, 4 top 4s, and 1 GT win, which was just one person with iron hands, I think.
That was Nassim.
That was Nassim.
Which gives them an overrep ratio of 0.6. That's because Marines still make up like 16% of the meta, basically. And so they're still not quite where they should be, but they are doing a lot better in like totality than I think they were.
The problem is,
at first.
Space Marines are 15 gophers in a trench coat, which means they get 15 tournament wins a day. Unfortunately, only one person can win. Like all of them share the same 15 wins. Doesn't matter how many of them there are. There's only 15 Space Marine game wins total. And Nassim was I'm having 5 of those this week.
They share the same wins, but they also share the same brain cell. So only one person can have the brain cell and the wins at the same time.
And thankfully, though, Nassim playing Iron Hand doesn't require the brain cell. So
it's true. That's why Jeremy had it the other weekend, so that he could kill everything. Nassim could win. All right. Necrons are the second best faction. This time it's 10 scarabs in a trench coat pretending to be an army with 14 top 10s, 3 top 4s, and 1 GT win, and they're at about a 0.8. They have soared to almost 10% of the meta. They are the second most represented faction aside from Marines. So they're the largest monobook faction currently by representation. They've basically grown every week since the Nephilim release, and they might hit a little higher because I personally think Necrons are pretty easy to pilot.
And everybody's got them from Indomitus as well.
Yeah, you can find like a 2,000 point Necron army for $300 or $400 Canadian.
The real question I have: are people running Scorpex unironically, or do they just not have wraiths? That's what every time I look at the Necrons, I'm like, why are these not wraiths?
Scorpex are better into Eldar is the rationalization that I've heard, because wraiths hit on 4s, Scorpex hit on 3s and have rerolls. That's just the rationalization that I've heard.
But they don't have a 4-up in button. And when your opponent's game plan is table you most of the time, and your reaction to that is, well, I'll just score more. I feel like Wraith's better at that.
Wraiths are also just 5 points more than a Scorpic.
I
think that's accurate.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but they also fly. No, sorry, they don't fly. They move through terrain as if it's.
And they're 4 inches faster.
Mm-hmm.
They still get +1 to hit from Silent King. Like, I don't know, man. I would rather just run. Every time I'm like, I just want Wraiths.
I guess
I play like 4 or 5 games with the Spanish list. I'm just like, Wraith. I wish these were Wraiths.
I think it just depends on if you want your Pillow Fort to have the ability to fight back or not.
No,
because like Wraiths aren't
are
killing
so much
anything.
easier to hide.
It's true. Well,
they have 40s or 50s.
They're both on 50s, but Wraiths are a lot skinnier.
True.
They testily easier.
And Tyranids are the third best faction of the week. They have 11 top 10s, 5 top 4s, and 1 GT win again. They bounced back a little bit from last week where they didn't really have the top 4s or any GT wins. They're at a 2.12 for overrep into the top 4. Their faction representation has kind of stuck around 5 to 6%. So they're still performing really well. They're really getting into top 4s. They're just not converting the second half of it into GT wins as much anymore.
Oh yeah, I'll shout out my boy Aaron, who won the GT in Gibraltar this weekend. Aaron had been struggling, going 3-2 and 4-2, 4-1 with Kraken constantly. Played Leviathan, smashed the GT at the gate.
Go figure.
And he messaged me on the Saturday night. I was like, I've got 9 Custodes bikes in the morning. What should I take? And I went, behind enemy lines, just go kill them.
Oh no!
And so he did that, and it was great. It was very easy, simple army to play. Leviathan turrets. If you're still playing Kraken, don't be. Just get some help.
Our fourth best faction is Sisters at 8 top 10s, 4 top 4s, and 0 wins, but they're still at a healthy overrep at about 1.9. So they're still almost 2 times more represented than they should be in top 4s. And then our 5th best faction, which everybody will find is funny, but I weigh top 4s and top 10s more than GT wins, just for the purposes of how I sort the table. Craft World Eldar got 7 top 10s, 5 top 4s, and 3 GT wins. And are currently at an overrepresentation of 2.86.
Goodness. So
they're
like I said earlier, totally dead.
Totally dead, those Eldar. One of the GT winners was just bizarre Yanari list that I just don't quite fully grasp with my brain yet, but maybe I just don't
try. It's probably like the Ark of the Covenant. If you understand it too well, your brain will melt.
Yep.
I want to just shout out Chris Kinnair, who won the Glasshammer GT last weekend with Necrons, who run Scorpex or Wraiths. They both suck. Hard agree that more people should just be running Void Dragon and Nightbringer, because that is how you come out dick swinging, and that is exactly what Chris does. And I'm a big fan of Chris. Chris is a good friend. Yeah, but people are running Scorpex, and every time I play them, I'm like, if you're going to run this unit, why aren't they Wraiths?
It's true.
Now, the fact that they shouldn't be running either unit is by the by.
Then we'll quickly just run through a few top hits real quick. So Harlequins, who are totally dead, got 5 top 10s, 3 top 4s, and then 1 a GT, which they hadn't done in a little bit, and are at a 2.45 for overrep. And then other than that, we have Chaos Knights, who can't convert from the top 10 to the top 4 and have a 0 for overrepresentation ratio.
Oh no.
They join Guard and Demons as the only 3 factions to not get a top 4 from the weekend. Mechanicus managed to get a top 4.
Deeper energy, don't they?
They do. And then, where is it? I knew it was here somewhere. Oh, Tau have taken the long drop and apparently are just at 6 top 10s, 1 top 4, and 1 GT win, and a 0.4 for overrep.
All the good Tau players are playing Sisters now. And
That's true.
And a 55% win rate, which is not terrible. It just means they can't finish.
Yeah. They're still a good faction. Mechanicus, who have been competitively abandoned, are at 1.3%, managed a 1.9 for overrep ratio because there are just so few of them.
So few of them, but they're all
one
very
list did
dedicated.
well.
1 top 4 got them 2.5%, so almost got them to 2 on their overrep ratio. This is why when you start getting towards the bottom with some of the lower representation factions, overrep gets a little weird. But otherwise, I think things to keep an eye on are Craft World Eldar. Continue to keep an eye on Tyranids and Harlequins. 3 totally dead factions, and see what happens. Sisters are kind of at a weird kind of flex point where they might be too good or they might not be too good, because they're still doing really well, and you still see some events where it's like Necrons, Tyranids, sisters. Just kind of all tidily in a row. So something to watch. But Craft World Eldar apparently still can win, even though Hail of Doom got nerfed so that it's all consuming.
So let's shout out the update to the meta dashboard that went out today. So if you go to statcheck.com/the-meta, you can see the meta dashboard, which is where we pull all these stats from. That was updated again today by our wonderful, wonderful Cliff. If you want to look at what I believe Tim Penny coined the problem quadrant, it's anything that's above the halfway line on the faction and above the halfway line on the win rate. There are currently 4 factions sat in there, which is Necrons, Tyranids, Harlequins, and Sisters, and then Eldar all the way down at like no play rate that are doing the same thing.
That's Eldar soup, yeah.
Yeah, Eldar soup. Very, very good stuff.
There's
But
hardly anyone who plays Eldar Soup these days,
Yeah.
so it tends to be in a kind of weird position.
There's also
but
a
then
new
you've got, like,
drop-down menu.
5 people winning with 100% winning with Cabal of the Blackheart and like Harlequins and such like that. That kind of says, yeah, this is probably still pretty good.
But there is a new drop-down menu for all those people who want drop-down menus. There's an event filter now, so you can look at single events.
Oh my god, that's gonna get really long really quickly.
It's already very long. I
Oh,
don't know what you're talking about.
There are way too many events.
to quote our good friends at Goonhammer, what if too much 40k?
Yeah, this weekend with the way the BCP is updated was, what if too much 40k for me to manually go through this and make sure everything is correct in it or not?
Do you want to
as Jeremy has a moment,
well?
as Uncle Unky Jezza over there has a moment in the corner.
Yeah, BCP decided to soft launch their new web portal today, and it makes my life a living hell. So I'm gonna
Normally that's our job.
Yeah, normally everyone else, the community, does that for me. But yeah, can't view lists, can't sort events by size, can't sort events by number of rounds. So I'm just clicking through on every single event that I see that has 25 or more players registered. At least it does show that.
Yep.
Jeremy can no longer be a size queen, is what we've learned.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what I had to do today to look at all the top 10s, and then I
I can
realized that I
still
can no
sort
longer
my rounds on the web portal. What?
unless
I
they
can
add it
actually
back.
do that.
Earlier today, they said you couldn't. It didn't let you sort by round.
Okay, it's still showing up for me as being able to sort by rounds, so maybe I'm just built different, or I've still
Maybe
got
they
an old
soft
version of the website.
unlocked
Are you
that
on? I'm going to quickly detour this. Are you on web.bestcoastpairings.com? Yeah, they launched a new one, which is amplify.bestcoastpairings.com, which is
Are
going to
they
be
getting
their
rid
new
of
site.
web, or
Yeah, they're getting rid of web as far as I can tell.
Well, that's not
Yeah.
cool. I don't like that.
And when you look
Yeah,
at placements
old
now,
hot links are now redirecting to the Amplify immediately. So I'm just like,
that's
okay.
good.
all
So
the
I'm
placing
using
data, all the placing data is now agnostic to faction as well, and you can't just click on them to figure out what faction they are either. You have to go back to the roster, look for their name to pull the faction, double check their list through there, which is half broken. Because even though I have an active subscription, I can't look at any of the lists for like 90% of the events that I was filtering through today. There's a bunch of fun stuff that's going to happen in the stat side of stuff over the next week.
Yeah, I've already had to start writing a way of scraping results that's somewhat reliable. So I don't have to spend an hour per event.
If somebody from BCP is watching this video or in our chat, please fix your shit.
Or just reach out and have a discussion. I'm happy to talk about it. I'm all for making things better.
Well, I mean, you could always grab
or listen to Jeremy, and please reach out to us at StatCheck so we can just have a conversation and be mature adults about this instead of me yelling at you through the internet.
Cool. Do you want to announce how the faction ranking thing is working? You want a brief breakdown on that since we launched that this week?
Yes, we could definitely talk about that. So let me actually just pull up my screen and make sure I'm showing the right thing. Faction. Apparently I don't have a bookmark.
I've got it open if you want me to share my screen.
Yeah, go for it.
I can just hit Jeremy, I can see your screen share here.
Oh, okay.
Here it is. Oh.
Oh, fuck. There we go.
No. There it is.
Hit the screen maximize button.
No.
There we go.
So much.
Yeah, so this is using the same backend calculations that's being used to generate the CRS, the player ranking system. So basically what I've done is I've taken the same results and what is effectively weighting your CRS score for each game and published what the current status is. So if you're looking at anything above 1500, that's generally a more winning faction. Anything below 1500, that's generally a more losing faction. And right now, sitting at the top, you have Craft Worlds, Eldar Soup, Sisters, Tau, and Custodes, surprisingly enough.
Well, that's nice. Oh, Chaos
And at the
Baseman's
very
getting up above
bottom,
1500,
Yeah.
de-weighting Anthony's rankings and killing his dreams of being the #1 CRS player.
Yeah, CSM is climbing a little bit. At the very bottom, you have Imperial Fists at a 1340, which is just a little sad.
See,
but
what I'm
they're
noticing
also
here
not
is if
being
you
played
want
very much. My favorite is the fact that Adeptus Titanicus is higher ranked than Astra Militarum, Crimson Fist, Raven Guard, and Imperial Fists. And that is solely on the fact that there's only been 2 people in the entire season that have played Adeptus Titanicus, which is also why Titanicus Traitoris is like 6 spots above it, because only 1 person has played Chaos.
So your rankings have to get tanked a little bit before they're down bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm noticing from that is if you play Thousand Suns and you're half confident, you're going to get loads of points because they are in the gutter for CRS.
For now, yes, but this does change
Oh,
very
look,
rapidly.
where's
with each
TJ?
week. Oh yeah, look at that. TJ, 3810 and sitting at number 6 overall.
With Thousand Suns. I wonder if that could be correlated.
No, definitely not.
No,
Definitely
correlation
just
correlation isn't the thing.
spurious.
spurious.
I do want to shout out Nassim finally breaking into that top 10 with his 5-0 Iron Hands performance this weekend. He is now 24-3 with Iron Hands this season, which is
Pretty
quite
good.
the achievement. We just need him to win a super major now.
It's overrated.
And it just says that because he's now in second to Tom Ogden.
No, I mean I tried it. I tried it again to see if it felt good the second time. It doesn't. You don't need to worry about it, guys. It was flash in the pan.
And with that, I will stop sharing my screen so that I don't fuck something up along the way.
No, that was going well. I was enjoying that.
Oh, good.
Cool.
All right.
Are
So
we
we
gonna
didn't
call
really
it
have
there
any
on
changes to
stats?
that. Yeah, that's it.
We're going to
That's
call
all
it
we
there
got.
on stats, but I want to poke the bear a little bit.
Are we moving on to rankings?
Yeah, we're going to talk about rankings because we did just show the CRS. And
Right,
for
Jeremy,
those
I'm going to add this to the stream, okay? Or do we want to do an intro first? Actually, I'm going to do some plugs first. Let's do that.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. If you're still with us, it clearly means you're enjoying the show, which means that we would really love it if you could chuck us a little bit of support and either chuck a like or a comment or a share or whatever you do on whatever platform you're on, a review on podcasts, a comment on the YouTube, anything like that is a massive help to us. It really helps us out with discoverability, makes us feel loved, which is why we do this. If you're really enjoying the show and you are in a position to be able to support us, we would love it if you could check us out at patreon.com/statcheck, where for $5 a month, you can become part of our Discord. You'll also get access to all of our bonus content. That is the #1 way you can support the show. We are currently doing very well on that, and we're very happy with how things are progressing. And we're paying our editor, which is great. That was the goal, and we've hit that. So that is we're truly really happy with that because it means that we're no longer just being like, "Yo, Curie, could you just edit our thing for us?" And we're now actually paying him money, which is it makes us feel better, and us feeling better is how we continue to provide you with better content. To that end, we have released a few episodes of our bonus content now. Bonus content comes out every Friday for the patrons. So far, we have done a interview which came out with Nathan, which came out last Friday, and also we did a WTC draft. We have also released a WTC breakdown for a bunch of people who are new to the event, which we put out for everybody. That came out yesterday, so please check that out if you're interested. We would love to see more because we're hoping to do quite a lot of WTC content, whether that's pre, post, and also hopefully during. And we will be releasing the interview with Nathan on Friday for everybody as part of the 2-week delay program, where every 2 weeks we'll release some of the bonus content for everybody, some of the stuff we're proud of, because we want more people to see it. And frankly, exclusivity rights for 2 weeks, you'll take that for a couple $1 a month. So thank you for listening to my spiel. Please go back to enjoying the show, and that's it. We don't have any ads or anything like that on top of that. This is all self-supported for us, so massive props to Nathan for doing most of the money side of things. I think they came out and were like, "You need to fill out this form now for tax reasons," and we all went, "No, we don't understand this." So Cliff's going to look at that for us because Cliff is the adult in the room. So yeah, thank you guys for putting us in a position where we are now having to look at tax things. I think that's a good thing. Oh yeah, and you can check us out on our website at stat-check.com, where you can see all of the data, all the information. You can't see the back end of it because that's all a little bit proprietary, and GDPR stuff I think comes into that as well, where we can't be like, "Yo, this is the things for people," but you can see all of the output. Feel free to fire us an email if you think that there's something that we could improve or something that you'd like to talk about. We are more than happy to have a look at anything as long as we have time, which we usually do because we're all 40k players, which means when we're not playing 40k, we're thinking about 40k.
Or
True.
talk
Now
about
let's
40K.
now shall we go and poke the bear?
Yeah, let's poke that bear.
Let's poke the
Let's
bear.
okay.
So I'm poking myself here because I'm on the committee for Canada now. But War Games rankings soft launched yesterday, and they put out their list of the 20 best players in North America, which of
Actually,
course,
no, the website just says 40K rankings. It doesn't say anything about North America on it.
True. It
That's
just
fair.
says 40K rankings.
If you read deep into the description, they eventually make a point about it being North America. But I was wondering why I didn't see any of the top 15 from the ITC in there.
I was wondering where I was real bad, and I was like, wow. And then I read that it was North America only. I was like, okay, I don't feel as bad now.
But yeah, so Tim and Alex, you guys are beautiful and wonderful human beings. So naturally, being the stats nerd that I am, I immediately was like, okay, so this is the top 20 according to a panel of judges. How do they rank up on our CRS, on our ELO, and on the ITC? And
Not well, guys.
Some of them do. Some of them actually do. And I'm going to throw this up right now where I put together a little comparison of the War Game rankings, their score, their CRS, their ELO, their ITC rank, and then their average rank.
Well done, Tom Ogden. You look real good right now.
Yeah, Tom Ogden, if anything, I would move him up one. If we're going by average rankings on everything, just put Tom at the very top. He is an outstanding player, and he has just been, especially when you look at his CRS, he's dropped one game this entire season.
I like Sean's average rank being 9 because he's unranked in 3 of them.
He's got War Games ranking of 9, and that's it. That's why I wanted to put a standard deviation here. It wouldn't do anything for Sean's, but it would be really funny for Richard Siegler's, where he's ranked 4th and then 4,151st. With an average rank of 2,077.
That's what happens when you go to one event and it's ATC.
It's true.
You win that one event, but doesn't get you a lot of points.
No.
I think I don't want to go too far off of the criticism-y thing because it feels kind of disingenuous at this point because Reddit's already like Reddit decided this Goonham article
everyone
wasn't
decided
good.
to
and
shit
if
on
Reddit
it.
decided that your Goonham article wasn't good, you fucked up. Quite frankly. But the basic gist of we've been talking about this because all of the chats blew up with this yesterday when this dropped, which is why we're addressing it because we think it's interesting and we are also we're providing an ELO ranking service that is in a similar space to this, and we thought it was interesting enough and in our wheelhouse enough that we should have a look at it. And I don't want to side us off because I'm sure the guys are trying really hard on this and they're working.
Agreed.
And they're trying to do something that they think is cool, they think is interesting. I have a problem with the messaging that they put out, which was basically that this was going to be kind of an objective thing or a seasonal thing. If you're doing it every 2 months, are you expecting things to change in 2 months, which implies it's going to be based on current data. And then Richard Siegler and Sean Naden are in here, and they've played one event between them since February. It just kind of, I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way in the way that the messaging came across, and then the way that the author and other people were defending it on top of that. I just didn't enjoy the way that messaging was portrayed, and I think it's made it look like something it's not, which is what it is it's something based on an American draft system that they're using, I believe, college football. I'm not going to claim to be an expert on this at all.
Yeah, so we can talk about that too, because there is the Associated Press NCAA college football ranking system where the press essentially and coaches can vote and ranks essentially are created out of that process. Unfortunately for them, that system is A, kind of despised, but B, the whole process for voting is also open. So all the ballots are open, so you can see who voted for whom and how that process actually works. And none of that transparency stuff exists for this particular system. But aside from that, I want to agree with Innes that like the majority of the qualms that I have with this system is that it's being presented as an alternative that is objective to other ranking systems. And the other part that I have qualms with is that it was presented as a system that would celebrate lesser known players.
There are
from various regions
people on this list that I would say are lesser known.
I mean, there's like 5 people on this that I have only kind of heard of, and then the rest of it is, I would say like, I'm not going to just pull out names. There's like a few people in here that I'm like, I wouldn't have probably picked them, which I guess is kind of the same thing. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't like the way that the messaging came out from this. I think what it's done is you could probably make a decent argument that this is the 20 best players in the United States. Or the United States and Canada, or 20 of the best 25 or whatever, which I don't think, like, it's definitely a system that works to pull that out. I don't think it orders them well, because it heavily favors name recognition because you get low votes for that. Whereas, when you're kind of in the scrum, you get chucked around based on, people's perceptions. And yeah, that's fine. Like that's what it's going to always be. There's better ways to rank individual, but if you want to pull out a list of the 20 best players or the 30 best players in the US, this is a good way to do it. It's just not a ranking of them.
No,
I don't know. I feel like that's just,
I guess the one thing I want to say is, like, this
messaging
system
problem.
would work so much better as a regional ranking system instead of a national one. Like, if you pulled out various US regions, like including the central region or whatever, and you ranked the 20 best players in it, there would be names on there that inevitably people wouldn't be aware of, and they could see who the people are who are doing well in those regions, because those are not necessarily caught in the ITC or the CRS system, because they're not on the first page maybe for a lot of them.
Yeah. And it's kind of one of these things where, like, as a Canadian, and I'm on we're looking to even break up Canada into East and West, because there is such a huge divide in our community between just geographically, that, we have one Canadian on this list, Sam, who really only has the recognition that he has because he attended Motor City Mayhem in the States. And
because Anthony won't shut up about him.
Well, the only reason Anthony won't show up on it was because he showed up to MCM and just
Anthony
blew
was doing
everyone's
that well
doors off.
beforehand, right?
Not to the same.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm thinking of Steel City, of Salt City, which was the other one.
He was at Salt City as well. But Motor City Madness is where he really got the name outside of Canada. Like, here in Canada, we've known him as a really, really good player for a while now. And if I was to put together a ranking of the top 20 Canadian players, he would be near the top, if not at the top. So from that perspective, it's one of these things where, the lesser known regions, or the regions that have less representation in the voting system at first, are being overshadowed. So I really do like Nathan's suggestion and I think that they're open to feedback and criticism. They're not ignoring it, and they're not shutting it down.
Chin up, Nathan.
Apparently, let me talk over this bar down here. Uncle Unky Jezza wants to have the freedom for the Quebecois over on the eastern side of the country.
No, he just wants Vancouver Island to F off.
No, Alberta, we'll just pull them out. They can be Texas North.
Oh, man, nobody wants Texas North. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, so to round out on this one, because I don't want to dunk on it for too long.
No, and I want to make
war for winning the Art of War popularity contest. I'll dunk on it a little bit. It's not for long.
Yeah, I am looking forward to seeing what it evolves into, and I'm also looking forward to seeing who else ends up contributing to this, and if it ends up becoming more of a regional representation, then we may end up finding out about players that we don't otherwise know about.
I would like to see it fix its messaging, and I can't wait to see the UK rankings.
Oh God,
I want to see this expanded. Like, I don't think it's a bad idea.
No, definitely not.
There are reasons to do a system like this, but this is done. The initial execution of this is very poor, and the messaging on it is extremely poor, and also the response on social media from the group who started it has also been kind of poor. So,
to be fair, that's one individual, and I think we can kind of discount their contributions to this.
I'm going to touch on that as well. That individual, and I don't want to pull them out, but because the article was published in the way it was, and that individual has had so much control over the messaging, it looks like it's his. That's what it looks like. For a lot of people, that is the association that has been built now. If the organization didn't want that, they should have done it differently. And they're not going, that association is a thing that exists, and it's not a thing that they can say isn't part of their thing now, because it just is, unfortunately. And again, I don't want to be the guy doesn't deserve any hate or anything for this.
No, definitely not.
The guy has very strong feelings about this and wanted to defend it, and I get that. I just don't like the way he did that, or the things the avenues he took to defending it, unfortunately.
Yeah. And like I said,
little jabs at other ranking systems for no apparent reason.
It's not no apparent reason. It's because we were jabbing at him.
We didn't.
Well,
but
we
yeah.
weren't at that point, but we did eventually.
Now we have.
Now we are.
Now we have. We
Now
definitely
have.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it because it's spurring the discussion, which is
Yep.
talking about how we rank players, talking about the best way of assessing what players are the best. It's not a bad discussion to have.
Oh yeah, and if you think the American one was bad and the UK one's going to be worse, because it is, the EU one is going to be so bad.
Oh no,
dude! I couldn't.
I can't imagine the regions that they would do with that. Would they actually just do countries, or would they go like Central,
How do you
Eastern, and
compare
Western
across
Europe?
countries? You guys are barely even doing. You guys decided not to by opting out of comparing Canada because. Well, sorry, I guess Canada opted out of having any competition. It's the same thing, isn't it?
In case you haven't noticed, Jeremy, you've just replaced Anthony's role as Innes's punching bag on the show, apparently. Just letting you know.
It's more Canada is deserving of all of it.
Is Nick Nanavati going to represent all of Europe?
Oh
too?
no,
Well,
He is going to be.
Sweden
He's going to be in the.
time, so
He's going to
or
be on
Finland,
the.
it might have been Finland.
He's definitely going to be on the English rankings. Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. He'll be number one in the UK. It's
All
definitely a thing that will happen.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. Good luck to the War Games ranking, guys. I really look forward to seeing what you continue to do with this. I think it's an interesting conversation starter, and with better messaging, could be something that is actually fun and interesting to engage with every couple of months.
Yep.
Which is ultimately what the goal of this should be. This is not going to replace real rankings. I don't think anybody is suggesting it should. This is a power rankings. This is based on perception.
It's a player's
just
choice award.
Just needs to fix the messaging so that it looks like it knows that, and then it'll be fine. Then it's just a bit of fun. Okay, let's jump on to questions.
I'm sorry, Jeremy.
Let's start with this specific one. Stat check. Can you please give Unky Jezza some cover by reminding Innes that Frontiers exists? Thanks. Okay, Unky Jezza, you need to tell me that Frontiers exists.
Innes, my darling nephew. Did you know that there's a show called Frontiers?
No. Where can I find that?
I wouldn't know. Not on this network.
I don't think anybody knows.
It's on a different network, but I don't really think that they get a lot of attention.
You can find Frontiers, which is hosted by the lovely people Sam Lemon, Benny Way, Alex Taus, and Alex Sarnameless. I think that is his technical name. Which you can find on the Best in Tabletop Network on whenever they stream it. I think is the preferred nomenclature. Alex, if you have a better idea of when you stream, I don't know. I'd hope so. Give us drop it in the chat. I'll plug you. I don't mind.
I seem to remember it's every other Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern, but that might just be my memory playing.
Why would you know that?
It is a really good show.
I'm a numbers guy. I know some weird shit. I remember the weirdest numbers. Alex, please tell me if I was correct with that number, because I will be very happy if I was.
If Jeremy is anything like me, he just collects information. So.
No, that was
accurate.
Yeah, okay.
You should definitely watch.
The other Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern, the Frontiers guys are live. They cover weird and wacky metas from all over the world, like Australia, New Zealand, and some other ones.
Like Asia. Well, yeah. Yes.
Alex has recently moved to Korea and started smashing up their tournament scene. Not Alex Taus, the Alex we like.
Well, I like Alex Taus.
Why? You not hear he's 25 now. You don't have to be nice to him because he's a child.
Oh shit! Well,
yeah, he's like a proper adult now.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, he's the same age as Innes.
He's one of the people who's going to be on the stats focused episode while you guys are at WTC doing nonsense.
Oh no! Oh, I'm so sorry. I was saying Innes' comment was correct. Do you know? Are the timings correct? Like, I don't know. Nobody does. At this point, we're moving on.
Yeah.
We're going to jump over to questions from the Discord. As always, if you would like to ask us a question, you can do so in the show questions thread on the Discord if you are a Patreon member. Otherwise, you can check us out on the live stream, which is live every Tuesday at 11 p.m. UK, 5 p.m. Eastern. No, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Standard. Something like that. I don't really care. Now-ish. An hour ago.
Yeah.
Whenever.
An hour ago.
If you're on the live stream, you can ask these questions without having to be part of the Discord. So those are the two best ways that you can continue to be part of the show. Otherwise, thank you. You can always check back on the live streams, the vlogs, the podcasts, wherever you like. If you like it with timestamps or you like watching it on 2x speed, which I can't recommend, I don't think any of us understand me at 2x speed.
I barely understand you at 1x speed, NS.
Yeah, RVD, one of the guys in the Biff Pod Discord, listens to us on 2x speed, and I genuinely don't understand it.
I don't know how you would manage to do that. While he's going through the Discord for questions, I will read this one out from Shackleton. How did the boys here feel about Horus Heresy 2.0? I'll start on that one. I picked up the Age of Darkness box and a couple extra boxes of Marines and bits and bobs. Played a few games. It's a lot of fun. It makes for good beer hammer, so long as you aren't taking it seriously and you aren't in a state where when you're playing against people that you know you aren't going to argue with, because there is definitely some janky stuff that happens in that game that, while they've cleaned up the 7th edition rules, there is still some things like template is roughly here. Bounces. Let's not.
I definitely like aspects of Horus Heresy, like from reading the rules and talking to some people about it. I like the way reactions work. I think that's kind of a neat. You're not sitting in your opponent's like shooting phase, not doing anything as they pick up all your stuff. Instead, you can kind of do some stuff back. But I don't play Horus Heresy exclusively, and probably will not play Horus Heresy exclusively, mostly because I think Marines are boring.
That's fair.
Boring.
Whereas, like me, a Marine player, I can be like, I only get to play against Marines. This is lovely.
They printed Horus Heresy and they didn't put Invis in it. Like, it's 7th edition without Invis. Why would I want that?
They might put it back in. You never know. They might add it back. Also,
if they do, then I'll reconsider. Well. Like, I need that or electro displacement. One of the two. Like,
hey, look, it's Aaron.
Oh. Hey, Aaron. We shouted you out earlier. Congratulations on
the win.
Also, I do love Jeremy. I just love the Imperial Guard side of him, not the Ravenwing side of him. It's just how it works.
Okay, let's jump to questions. I had these open and then I got a message. Fuck.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Okay. Anthony, is this going to be your first time out of the United States and into Europe?
I think, yes, it is technically his first time.
I was hoping he was going to answer.
Into Europe, but I don't think... Man, he did say he might pop in while driving just to swear at us a whole bunch. So I guess he's not doing that today.
The previous topic.
It's true.
Okay. At Nathan, if Anthony is traveling to Scotland at a rate of 590 miles per hour out of JFK traveling towards Edinburgh, what is his blood alcohol level before the WTC begins?
Man, that's a good question. I don't know how many drinks Anthony likes on international travels, but if he gets free drinks on his flight, I assume that by the time he lands, his blood alcohol level will be at least the equivalent of the exchange rate for the United States.
Good. On a scale of 1 to potato, how sad am I that I have to use an actual bone sword and lash over my hive turn? So for context, for WTC, things have to be very WYSIWYG. So I have a big 3D printed scythe for my hive turn that doesn't have a lash whip, but it got rejected because it doesn't have a lash whip. Like, so I don't much care for the WTC's conversion policy this year.
They are being
based on my coup against it.
It does sound pretty tyrannical, I won't lie.
So yeah, I had to rip the arms off my Forge World Hive Tyrant to put them onto a plastic fire. I was real sad. But it means I'm going to be able to put the wings on him now because I've got the wings ready to go on him, so it'll be fine. He's just going to get the wings in the scythe now.
He'll show up at what? LGT?
I don't know if I'm going to play Turn as LGT. LGT's like a month and a half away. I have no idea what I'm playing yet.
That's fair.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I understand why the WTC is being as strict as they are, because they want to make sure that there are no misunderstandings between players because of the number of languages that everyone speaks there, and conversions can lead to some rather awkward conversations. But he's got one thing in his list. Let him have his scythe. What's our next question?
Justice for Reaper. That's what I see that hashtag in our future. Hashtag justice for Innis.
What local foods am I going to make Anthony sample? So we're going to take him for a chippy tea on the Saturday, I think. And part of that will involve a deep fried Mars bar.
Are you going to take him for that weird all deep fried snack plate thing that you guys were telling me about?
Yeah, that'll be what he gets from the chippy, probably because he doesn't eat fish. We will also have him on Iron Brew, Buckfast, and whiskey. Those are all going to be staples of his diet. I believe somebody's bought a can of dragon soup.
Oh no.
This sounds like
which-
care instructions for like somebody's pet being
I'm
sent
gonna-
to you guys.
I'm gonna just Google dragon soup for the people who don't know. It's not spelled soup if you're trying to Google it. It's SOOP. I have to sign in to say that I'm over 18 to be allowed on this website.
You can't
Oh, boy.
show it on your screen then, please.
Yeah, I can. It's fine.
Okay, fine. Brew and breakfast. Okay.
So this is dragon soup.
Oh, those are illegal in the United States. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah,
Four
it's
Loko.
Four Loko.
It's Four Loko.
Yeah.
You
But
just can't
it's-
have them in the U.S. anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
blame
we're
frat
gonna-
boys for that one.
Mm.
Yeah. So we're gonna try and kill him.
Ooh, blue pineapple and kiwi.
Mark Murphy has the right message. Thoughts and prayers for Anthony. That's going to be rough.
Yeah, the goal is for him to have a cardiac arrest sometime around Sunday morning, and then we're going to take him for traditional. We're going to take him for morning rolls on the Sunday morning, which is just bacon and sausage rolls, basically. But you have that for breakfast because we're a healthy country.
Definitely. I definitely have never eaten a full English breakfast. You know. Just
No,
felt
we're
like-
going to take him for full Scotch. I'm going to make him get
guy.
haggis on his.
Ooh, I do want to try haggis. Come on.
It's good stuff.
Everything's
You just
good
kind of
at
have to
least once.
hold your nose a little bit the first time, and then realize that it's basically just the same stuff that hot dogs are made out of, but it's probably healthier.
I mean,
So
I've eaten durian and enjoy it, so haggis can't be that bad.
it's quite good. It's quite nice, to be honest. Okay, what is next? Hello, Innes and Anthony. Anthony's not here, guys. Like, come on. Why didn't you know this yesterday? I am leading my competitive 40k team by playing together on weekends and getting reps to help each other with their army and game knowledge. I want to help our team get better with execution and get as many reps for any upcoming GTs or majors. Besides getting reps in and discussing post-game analysis, what recommendations do you do to help your 40k team get better at the game?
Man, reps is like the thing that I think about for like improving your skills. Like you can only improve your skills so much by not doing something. And doing the thing is like the biggest way of improving yourself at skill-based things. Although, Innes, do you want to link your leveling up in 40k competition PDF?
No, I don't, because I'm gonna maybe have a look at updating and doing it as a blog post sometime next month.
Okay.
I think
after
that'd
the
make a
season,
good blog
so
post.
It would make a good like actual visual graphics as opposed to what I had, which was a sideways piece of paper.
If you join our Patreon, though, you can see the initial draft.
You sure can. You sure can see the one that says that I'm only kind of good at singles, which is why you could tell it's from a while ago. Yeah, I would say the best thing you can do is to change how you approach playing reps. At the start of like when you're just trying to get started on competitive 4K, the best thing you can do is just play games to the finish, play the scrappy end games and see what happens. When you're trying to practice to get better, it can often be helpful to do like 2 or 3 games in an hour or in a couple of hours rather than one game. So just, do the deployment, play through turn 1. If it ends up being a snowball one way or the other, just reset and do it again and then do it again and try and go through those things. And one thing I've found that really helps with practice is when I just, on like turn 2, I'll just stop my opponent and be like, right, let's just talk about what we think is going to happen from here. And then if our opinions don't align, we just discuss why. And that can be really helpful with my teammates, especially to be like, this is why I think this is going to happen. This is why I think this isn't going to happen. And if we don't think the same thing is going to happen, then that means that one of us has a fundamental flaw in understanding of the matchup. And that's the things that we need to address more than anything else. I don't need another 3 turns of this is how I shoot my army and this is how I play combat. I understand that at this point. I've got the mechanics down on that stuff. It's, understanding the expectations of this is how a game is going to play out. That's a lot more important. And I would recommend trying that. To follow up on that one, I'll jump quickly on Charles's question from chat. Any tips for conducting effective quick test games? Just do it. Stop stalling between games and things like that. Just, talk to your opponent. Don't view the game as an adversarial thing. Play on short clocks is another thing I would recommend. A teammate of mine and I play on 30-minute chess clocks, and we'll not try to finish a five game turn at that time, but we'll try and get through like 3 turns while making like as minimal decisions as we can, and then we'll finish the game out. Like if it's turn 4, we'll just be like, right, so what roughly happens from here? But it lets you get through games a lot quicker. The last thing I would recommend is if you can, practice in 3s or 5s or whatever, and have one person who can just set up a board with their army on it ready to go for the next game, and they can, in between games, they can go between tables and be like trying to talk through stuff and bouncing ideas off of each other. And then when one person finishes, one person jumps off to take on the table loss role, and the other one jumps onto the game, and you just get going, and you just cycle through games quickly that way. It's not easy, and it's something you have to set up, and you also have to have a lot of trust with the people that you're doing table lossing with to be like, are they going to give us relevant advice? Is this going to be helpful? But that's what I do when I'm doing like training days with the other Team Scotland guys, is I'll just sit and I'll be like, on whoever's on the losing side of whatever matchup at the end of turn 2, I'll just try and talk through them to try and find winning lines or better points or anything like that. And that can it's all things you can do, and you don't have to do all of this. Like, find the things that work for you and your group, because there is obviously merit in just playing games of 40k. If that's what you want to do as well, there's nothing wrong with just playing games.
I think I agree with all that, right? Like, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a really good episode of Art of War that I listened to not that like a long time ago about teams before I even considered the idea of like participating in it, because I was new and didn't know what the fuck teams were. But the idea of practice games don't need to be full 5-turn games is like a thing that you should consider, right?
Yeah, it's a thing that almost doesn't seem intuitive, because there's so many games where the scrappy late game is where you determine when a game is won and lost. But what you can often find, for me, for WTC practice, is I know that the scrappy late game is going to be the difference between a 12-8 and a 13-7. I don't care. Like, in singles, yeah, that matters a load, and you should definitely practice for that. But you know the matchup's like done, lost, whatever. If it's a difference between, you know, a small win and a small loss, I don't care. That means it's a close game, and there's other decision points I can make in this game to try and change that, rather than trying to fix the late game. Fixing the late game you can do when it comes up organically, because you will get into those games where you're like, you really want to know what happens at the end. But if it's just, you know, can I scrape out a draw from a terrible position, it doesn't always have a lot of merit, because that's not situations that you come up with in regular games as often as you'd think. Generally, the games you win are games that you win early in single play. Almost all games you will win early, because the overwhelming majority of games of 40k are decided in the first couple of turns. The scrappy late game ones where, you know, you're punching each other and you know, trading hammer blows until turn 5 just don't happen that much, and you can't create the conditions to practice that. So why bother?
Yeah, I'm going to echo the idea of having table boss or a third person kind of watching the game unfold. It again has to be someone that you trust, who has good game knowledge and all that. But sometimes having that outsider can help comment on, hey, you're really focused on this quarter of the board. Is that actually where you need to be focused? You're focusing your efforts right now when those little things over here.
Is that winning the game? Is that where you're winning the game? The last thing I would say for actually conducting effective practice, don't track your score on like ITC battles or on a whiteboard. Get a physical sheet of paper or a scorecard and write your score out. And at the end of every turn, count the score and say, if the game ends this turn, am I winning or losing? And that should inform your decisions on how you continue to play the rest of the game. Because if you're not winning the game on turn 2, you need to change that. If you're winning the game on turn 3, you need to change that. So having that understanding, or you need to understand that the conditions are such that you have back-ended points. But with stuff like to the last being gone, it's less frequent now. A lot of your points will be either every turn points that you're generating, and if you're losing out on the turn 1 and 2 points that you can't make back and your opponent's not, then you have to change the conditions of the game.
Yes, a legal pad would be a great way of tracking.
No, I would recommend printing out like a physical score sheet, like the Goonhammer score sheet, the WT score sheet. Just get an actual physical score sheet, because when you look back at it, you can keep records and you can have a log of all this stuff, and you can upload it into IGC Battles app next time and not have to wonder what your chicken scratch means, whether you took Bring It Down or Nephilim.
Yeah, you can buy some like dry erase ones where you can do dry erase and look at.
I wouldn't recommend the dry erase ones, just because they feel, for me, they always feel a lot more impermanent, and like I'm a lot less good about keeping a hold of them and uploading them and keeping track of them. But yeah, get a physical score sheet. That's my best advice on that one. Especially if you are having someone else who's like table bossing, being able to just look at your score sheet and understanding how the game is going is very important. Anyway, that's about 10 minutes on that question. So let's quickly jump on it after Curie finishes his last thought.
Yeah, I will say that the paper scorekeeping is one of the things that I've been really trying to hammer home for my guys, for Team Canada, not just for practices, but also for in-game, because it makes it a lot easier from a team's perspective for me walking by as a coach to look down at a piece of paper than to try to decipher from.
Are you doing the same thing you're doing? We're requiring physical score sheets for everybody on the team this year, and then we're going to collect them after every round, so we have a log of them in case there's any issues.
Yeah, that is exactly what's happening. People can use the ITC Battles app if they want, but I want to a physical copy.
I
being done at
want
the
the
same
up.
time.
I want to look at your scoreboard and know exactly what the score is right now, because all my games are going to finish in 20 minutes anyway. So
Exactly. I mean, for me, I'm just there to watch.
exactly.
Next
no,
question.
you'll do a lot of wondering about looking.
Yeah,
for
I'm
going to
do a lot of running around, but
no, looking for the coaches to talk to when you're bored. That happens a lot too. You get so much chat done when you're a coach. It's great.
I'll learn a lot. Do you got another next question on Discord? Because if not, we've got one in the chat.
Would now be a good time to admit that ever since the faction came out in 7th edition, I've never succeeded a morale check when playing Harlequins? Yes, it would be. That's quite funny.
Aren't they leadership 8?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
I think
That
they
one's
are
for
leadership
Anthony. I'm
eight.
gonna save this one from Dan. I'm gonna pin it so I can ask him it next week.
I mean,
For the Nurgle marked CSM
Yep.
army. I was going to say, just bring that Master of Executions who has the Nurgle mark and say that's your Nurgle marked army. But
that's probably
that
a
was
good
me
choice.
being snarky.
basically does Drazar's work for
Who
you.
is the more likely to end up in jail during WTC? Me, as a result of Anthony's actions.
Yeah. Anthony has a lot of plans for Innis for this WTC trip. I'm hoping it will make some great random drug and alcohol fueled videos.
I'm not
online.
answering Doug's question because that's just not a good question.
Sorry, Doug.
Sorry,
he knows.
Doug. Your question's not good enough.
Can you tell us more about Team USA's AdMech list? Is it worth taking as a singles list? I don't much care for it. I think 5 all kind of Iron Striders is an interesting meta choice. And he's playing Agrippina, which is a good sub-faction, but I don't think it's the best one. It definitely fills a role in a team setting, which is why we're taking it, but I don't love the EP2 damage 2, like 6 shots EP2 damage 2 just kind of feels outdated on an 85-point platform, which feels weird to say about Iron Striders.
Well, they're only 75 points with the autocannons.
Are they not 85, 95, or do they go back down 10?
I'm pretty sure they're 75, 85 because I think they were 65, 75 before.
Oh God, were they? Jesus fucking Christ, those things were so broken.
Oh yeah,
there was a reason why they were
delicious.
in the first place in this.
I hate AdMech so much.
But I play a lot of I played a lot of AdMech before the 5th nerf hit. There were a lot.
It's a lot.
They're
fine. You can probably win a GT with them. They're not going to be the thing that's stopping you winning games. Ultimately. I personally wouldn't run the 2 bricks of 1 with autos, 1 with Laz. I would just run 2 with Laz or 1 big with Laz and fill the rest of your list out with some scoring potential. We're running 2x3 with Laz.
There you go. I do like the Agrippina into Armor of Contempt era. And the Verse of Vengeance is just hilarious on many different things in that army.
That's
fair. It's not a bad singles list.
Winning Eldar lists, you can. I think 40k stats is still the best place for collating lists.
Weekly competitive innovations or the 40k meta article that's on Reddit competitive are the 2 best places to get those. Otherwise, the other option, which I also suggest because you should probably support BCP, is to go and subscribe to it so you can access lists.
Yeah. There's another couple of options. Blood of Kittens does keep a log of everything that's top 4 to tournament or top 3 to tournament. Mm-hmm. You can find that in Blood of Kittens' list archive, which is actually a pretty good resource and one of the few good things that site produces. You can also look on some of their hot takes.
Some of the alternative websites, like Down Under Pairings, that have fewer events on it, also have lists available for you if you look.
And if you ask in most Discords, you can find some places. You can also check out the WTC lists, which are public now. You can find them on Best West Pairings, or there's a PDF floating around where you can find a variety of Hail of Doom, Ulthway. There's some Children of Prophecy and Merciful Shots lists floating around. A lot of diversity in the Eldar space that's all looks exactly the same list. It's just different sub-factions.
Yeah.
It's not shade to Blood of Kittens. Blood of Kittens would admit this to themselves.
Yeah, they're generally a pretty
Blood of Kittens knows what
scorching takes.
Blood of Kittens knows what it is. Does not shy away from it, and has a very good list archive.
It's good to know what you are and what you aren't, and being able to know that you are really good at headlines is a thing to know about yourself.
Cool. I think that is going to mostly do it for us. So I'm going to roll us into the wrap up unless we have anything else.
We do have one question in chat that I want to cover from a random guy.
Go for it.
It's kind of covering an idea that we've beaten to death previously on the earlier episodes, but with the Nephilim changes making starting CP so much more tight, do you think we'll ever see statistical tracking of win rates for armies based on how much CP they start with? And I don't.
Oh, go ahead, Jeremy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to say from my perspective, I check every list when I'm doing the weekly stats, but I don't record things like starting CP, partially because
it's so much work.
One, it's so much work, but two, it's one of these things where it really doesn't influence win rates from my perspective that much. Because you look at it,
interesting to see as like a one-off thing, but I don't think it would have much merit as a thing we long-term tracked. It kind of a lot of the time CP tends to be more of a merit of how people want to play. Than as a specific, like, most terrorists are going to start with 1, 0, 1 or 2 CP. That's kind of a factor of how you play. Where the chaos lists start, same region. Eldar lists tend to have a little more because they're not as heavy on world trades and relics. It's a lot of it. It'll tie to factor winners, or it'll be such meaningless noise because the garbage factions start on 0 to 3 CP as well. That I don't know how relevant it would be. It would be an interesting stat to look at once, but I don't think it's something we're interested in long-term tracking unless it proves to be really interesting that once. And I would probably need someone to come to us and be like, hey, we did this, we think it's cool. Would you be interested in tracking that? Having actually seen that it was a thing of value to do in the first place. It's not something we're looking at the moment, I don't think.
The things that are interesting, I think, from like a driving win rates perspective is like what secondary objectives you take and how well they're scoring.
Which there was a fantastic Goonhammer article about
today,
yesterday.
Go
read that. It was really good.
They draw their data from ITC Battles app, which covers both some of the competitive games when people track them, but also non-competitive games. So it tends to get a broader picture of how the meta is doing and like what is happening in it. Once you kind of go through and there's a bunch of quality.
There's caveats to the data, but there's caveats with every all data.
Yep.
We can't track it, so
go first win rate and secondaries are the two things that I think are most interesting from like an extra things to track perspective, because those two things actually have greater effects on choice, like what choices you're making, and like drive kind of game and army list composition. There's like a bunch of stuff you could track, but there's also a point where I think this is a good point to talk about just like a little bit real quick. Is that you can keep drilling down into data, but like because our data set in 40K is constrained in size significantly, there's only so much you can say with certainty using the data at a certain point. Like I usually don't like talking about on a weekly basis factions that have less than 10 players playing them, because generally under 10 players, your data is not very good. But once you say you have 50 players, but only 4 players are playing a specific list type, like that's only 4 players worth of data, and it's not necessarily telling you anything useful.
The thing to remember with it is like if we have 10 players on a faction and they all play a 5-round GT, every game is 2% of your data set.
Yeah.
It's just every game has such an outweighed influence. Every individual player is 10% of the results. When you get to the point where we're talking about 300 with 200 players, where every game is 0.1% of your data set, it starts to feel a little more meaningful, and it's still not a big data set, even at 200 players.
These are very small data sets from a relative perspective to start picking out like each individual variable from it. Like as somebody who works with massive data sets like that aren't these, like you are pulling out these are very small data sets that you're trying to pull very small pieces of data out of, and you start to lose the ability to like get significant information out of it.
You're zooming in on pixels that aren't there on a picture, basically.
Yeah, your resolution isn't very good.
There's also, finally, only so much we can track. Curie and Nathan both have, and Cliff all have real lives outside of this. We are trying to focus things to things that are broad line generally useful, rather than things that if you have a specific focus on, you could probably drill down yourself from the data for a weekend. Because tracking everything for win rates is difficult for the individual player. Picking out your faction and looking at the 10 lists that won this weekend to see how many CP they start on, it's achievable for the average player. So it's kind of just, it is what it is, unfortunately. There's only so much we can track.
And there's only so much
we can meaningfully track.
There's a lot of things that just aren't tracked easily or accessibly. Like Go First win rate is tracked in the ITC Battles app, but BCP can track it, but it's not necessarily published in a way that's available to us.
It's not mandatory, and it adds a lot of time to stuff like that.
Yeah, because in
Same with
theory, you can
secondaries chosen.
also track secondaries in BCP, but it adds time, and a lot of people just don't do it.
I hate having to do my secondaries on BCP. It genuinely drives me up the fucking wall.
Yeah,
Understand.
If it had proper integration with the IGC Battles app, more people would probably do it, but it doesn't have that connection. And so it just doesn't get tracked, which is why the IGC Battles app is so handy for looking at secondary data.
Didn't have some secondaries last time I used it. Like, you couldn't put Harlequin secondaries in it. It just didn't exist.
Yeah, it needs to be updated regularly with each book that comes out. It's a lot of work on the back end for the BCP developers to keep up with every single game on that level of things.
Yeah.
Also,
and so that basically, I think that addresses the follow-up question where he's really looking at, if you were to look at a faction and say, I've got 20 Dark Angel players, 10 are starting on 1 CP, 10 are starting on 0 CP. We're drilling down to such a deep level of detail that you're not going to get a meaningful result out of it.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to say anything. So, like, I do understand what people are trying to get at, but there's a point where you can't answer the question that you're looking for in a way that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
So this is something
we could
we'll
probably answer the question. It's just, are we answering the question in a way that's useful to anyone and worth the effort we would have to put into it?
If you want homework, you can go look up power analysis in statistics, and you can learn about how much you need to answer questions based on variation in a data set. So if you're really interested in learning about why some of these things aren't meaningful once you start digging into them, go Google power analysis. You'll probably have to watch a YouTube video, or maybe it's something I can try to bring up with the folks who will be on the stats-focused episode next week, which I'm still working on guests for, but you all should be excited. It will be fun, I promise. We're going to have some good guests on, depending on when we get
next week is the WTC week, so Anthony and I are away, as is Jeremy, so it's going to be Nathan running the roost.
Well, with Cliff. Me and Cliff are going to run it, and I do potentially have
That's going to show up. You're running it. You realize that, right?
2 amazing guests, potentially, and we'll find out how that works out. It may not be on Tuesday next week, folks, but I will keep you all advised as to how that works, depending on availability of our guests. But be excited. It'll be fun.
Cool. I'm going to do the roundout now.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you very much to Jeremy and Nathan. As always, thank you if you've been with us for the full 92 minutes now. Clearly, you're enjoying what we do, and we would love it if you would be able to chuck us a little bit of support to help that out. That is the best way you can do that. You can chuck us a like, you can chuck us a comment, you can share the podcast with a friend, whether if you enjoyed it with, or you can leave us a review on whatever your podcasting app of choice is. We love the comments. Comments are the favorite ones because we get to come back in and start slagging people off again, and that is personally my favorite pastime is when I get the email that says somebody said something stupid. So if you want to say something stupid in the comments, please do. Get in Nathan's DMs about it. These are all valid options.
You are definitely allowed to just send me complaints to my DMs. I may or may not block you. I may or may not print out your comment and burn it in a bonfire. I don't know.
He will probably send it to the group chat.
I will also do that. If you send me something especially stupid, I'm going to put it on the Patreon. Because it will be on the
GDPR
Discord.
isn't real.
There's a lot of things that people like. I don't get as many DMs as people think I do because a lot of you are very polite, which I appreciate. But some of the messages that I occasionally get are quite interesting and quite dumb.
Finally, if you really enjoyed what we do and you're able to, we would really appreciate if you could check us out on Patreon, which is patreon.com/statcheck. That gets you access to our Patreon Discord and also all of the bonus content that we put out. I will leave with the final one. There will be bonus content for everybody coming out on Friday on the YouTube feed, which will be the Innocent Outs interview with Nathan. And hopefully for patrons, the follow-up interview, which will be with one of the other core members, will be coming out the week after that. Bonus content for this week, we are still trying to arrange. I'll hopefully get something 50 minutes out. The WTC newcomers draft took my bonus content time this week, so but we're not counting it as a bonus content because that was available for everybody. You should also check out the bonus content extra, whatever. I don't even remember. I think I called it Stat Check Extra on the playlist, which is the WTC newcomers roundtable where I pulled on 6 people who were brand new from the WTC, who were brand new to the WTC. And we put that as a YouTube video that went up yesterday at 8 o'clock UK. So it's been up for a little over 24 hours now. That is free to everybody on the YouTube. I had Anthony from Team America, Malachi from Team Northern Ireland, Arna and Liam from Team Belgium, Jonathan Slay Johnson from Team Sweden, and Brian Sipe. I can never pronounce my guy's surname. I'm really sorry, Brian. Brian S from Team Scotland, and I hosted, and we went through an hour talking about the WTC and their hopes, goals, dreams, and evening plans. So I'm really proud of that. It's one of the things that I'm most happy about getting to do is random stuff like that, where I get to just promote a thing that I think is interesting. And it's one of the best things about having a platform where these people don't tell me no. Yeah,
and we encourage it.
Yeah, exactly. They encourage all my stupidity, which is great because they're profiting off it too. That's the goal. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. We'll be back same time next week for the live show.
So long.
That's it.
And
That's
thanks for all the
thanks everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Will the episode from yesterday be a podcast? Probably not.
We're still live.
Oh, I need to hit the end broadcast button, don't I?